Good day. Hello, welcome back to our course. Before we proceed to function, let us discuss first list comprehension. This is a quick for loop to list. This is a very common operation in Python. So let me demonstrate to you how much code you will save if you implement list comprehension. So let's say, for example, you have a list of 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So usually, there are some operations that you will do inside a for loop, which pertains to our list. So let me demonstrate you some examples. So usually, in this example, we will create an empty list. Okay, this is how you create an empty list. Okay, so you're assigning the out variable with an empty list. So let's try, for example, for item in X. So we will iterate through the list of X, and we will use the append function of a list. Remember, the out is also a list, so we can use the append function. Then let's say, for example, we want to square all the value of the item inside the X list. And let's try to print it out. Okay, so I've executed this one, then I execute this one also. So we have a 1496. It means that we just squared the value inside the list. So 1 squared is 1, 2 squared is 4, 3 squared is 9, 4 squared is 16. But as you can see, the code is very long. So we can shorten this out by using a list comprehension. So remember that the out here is a list, and we created a list of X. So we just assign the squared values in the for loop to the out list. So if you take a look at the out, so that's the same value. It's just printed here, but the value of out is this one. Okay. So how can we make this very short in code? So we will utilize the list comprehension. So I can write the same code using only a one line, a very simple one line. So for example, so for item in X. Okay. So what list comprehension does is it shortens the code. So we will learn to read backwards now. So same thing. So item squared, then you will cast this one inside a list. So this is the equivalent of the for loop code above, but this one is way shorter. So list comprehension is a shortcut. So one simple line. So we execute this. So it's the same result, but this one is a very short code, only one line as compared to the code above. So remember, when you're using a list comprehension, you must read it backwards. Okay, so again, so for item in X, we will do squared of the item in the X list, which is if you look above, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So you read backwards. For item in X, you squared the item, which is we iterate on the item on the X list. Okay, so I'm not forcing you to do this, but again, this saves a lot of time. It is a one-liner code, and again, it's a very common in Python. So usually you will encounter this comprehensions. So let's move on to functions. So functions are a block of organized code. So I suggest you learn to develop your own function because it is a reusable. Okay. It can be recycled as compared to you develop a line by line code. So I suggest you learn to use function. So for the definition of functions in Python, you use the def keyword. Then of course the name of the your function, let's say my function, that's the name. If you have a certain parameter, let's say we pass one parameter, and the code that you would like to execute inside the function. So let's make it simple. So how about param1? So this time I have a function. So you call this by using the name of the function, and you pass a certain parameter. So for example, my function hello. So it would just print out the parameter because the code inside is just print. Okay. So for beginners, they are making a mistake of not doing the parentheses. So for example, my function. So this just mean that this just means that you want to know what this is one, which is function. The Python says that it is a function. Okay, so remember, don't forget the no, the parentheses. So another one, if you would like to pass a default value. So for example, I have a default value here. Okay, so I can declare this one. I will not pass a parameter. So for example, my function, just an empty parameter. If you have declared a default value such as above, so let us execute this first because I made a change. So shift enter. So another one. What if I declared my function with a blank parameter? So it will the printout will result to the default value. So as you can see, I'm not passing any value at the parameter. So if you pass a certain value, then it will ignore the default because you already passed a parameter. So this is one is a best practice also. You provide a default value uh, per parameter so that if you have declared you do not declare any parameter, then it will result to the default value, which is the default, this one. So aside from accepting parameters, a function can also return a value. So I know you're familiar with functions that return a value. So let me just create another line here by using Alt Enter. Okay, so let's create a function that returns a value. So this one is very important too. Okay, so let's define how about we square a number, make it just a simple function. So we accept parameter of x. Then what we will do is to return the value of x. This time it is squared. Okay. So again, so before we proceed to lambda expression, so I will just create another line. So Alt Enter. Okay. So we created a function of a name squared that returns a squared value whatever we pass to the parameter of x. So for example, we have defined a value of out, then we utilize the function of square, let's say 3. So the value of out will become 9. So we will just use the return keyword in order to return a specific value to this out variable. So this one is very much important to learn the concept that functions also return a specific value. So we can even shorten this function using lambda expression. So let me demonstrate this one. So we can shorten this one. Let me just copy this one. Okay. So actually you can write this function in one line. So lambda expression shortens your function definition. So if you're familiar with anonymous functions in JavaScript or any programming language, This can be done also using lambda expression. So you don't need the word def, and also you won't need the return key. So if you will convert this to lambda expression, so this is the way to do it. Okay, so lambda, then you have the x, then you have the return x squared. So I will not execute this as of now, as we will use the lambda expressions using when we are here in the map and filter. So before we use the lambda expressions, right now let's go first to the function of mapping. So the map function take at least two parameters. So again, this map and filter is very important in when we are dealing with certain specific data. So the first argument is a user-defined function, of course, and then the second argument is one or more iterable types. So if you want to see the documentation for mapping, again, you can use the Shift tab, okay, in order for you to read the documentation. So the first argument here is it accepts a function. Then the second argument is iterable. So let me demonstrate how to use the mapping. So first, we define again a function. So let us just copy the functions from before. So copy. So this function squared, what you supplied, what are the parameter you will supply. Then let's define again, for example, another sequence. So let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so I will use Alt Enter. So remember that we use Alt Enter so that lines are added. Okay, so we have here a defined function which is a name squared. It accepts one parameter designated by x, and it's just return the square of the number. So we have iterable types here, which is list is iterable, so it has 6 items. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So what the map does, it executes a function into one iterable types. So for example, we use the map. Then of course we have the function, which is the square. Okay. Then the second parameter will be the sequence. So what will be the result of this? So the Python just inform us that this is a map. So if you want to cast this on a list, so again, you will use the list function. So again, so map. So we have a square, then we have a sequence. Okay. So as you can see, we squared the sequence list. The item on the list are being squared. So 1 squared, so 2 squared is 4, so 3 squared is 9, 4 squared is 16, and so on and so forth. So we can use lambda expressions here so that we will not define a functions anymore. So assuming we don't have a definition of functions here. So this is where the lambda expressions are very useful. So again, I will repeat the code. So list, map, then instead of squared, we will convert this to lambda expression. So again, I will just copy this one. So we will convert this into lambda. So we remove the squared name and replaced it with the lambda expression. Okay, so this is x. So we remove the return value. Then again, this is a qualified function, which is the first argument for the map. Okay, we just shorten this one. Assuming you will not have this one, so we defined it earlier, but assuming you don't have this specific function, So you can also do this by using the lambda expression. So this one is the same with this one. Okay, then you iterate also through the sequence, so the result will be the same. Okay, so you can also use the filter function. So what the filter function returns are it just returns a logical value of true or false. So for example, I want to identify uh, if in the sequence we have I want to return only a specific value if it is even numbers. So you can use the filter here. Okay. So for example, filter, again, we will use a lambda expression. So lambda, so let's have an item. So item, so if you remember the modulo, it remains only the remainder. So if item modulo 2 is equivalent to 0, then iterate through the sequence. So that's a filter. So again, we can cast this one into a list. So what we would like to do here is to return even numbers from the sequence list, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're expecting we will return a list that is composed of 2, 4, and 6. So let's execute this. So exactly, that will be the result. So the filter list, remember, returns true or false value. So this one will compare, for example, so 1 modulo 2. Does it have a remainder? So yes. So for example, 2 modulo 2, uh, the remainder is 0. So that is true. So the filter one function collectively collect the true value, then compare it to the sequence, then returns what is the certain condition of our function. As you can see here, we have a function that identifies add even numbers from a sequence, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 at the top. So these are very common operations also in Python. So we will exploit the shortness of the lambda expression instead of using this one. But there are times that lambda expressions cannot be used. For example, we have multiple parameters here. So these are just for simple functions. So you can use anonymous functions right here. So now let us move on to methods. So in Python, there are a lot of methods. So for this example, I will just demonstrate methods for string. So for example, we have this string. Hello, my name is, yes, my name. Okay, so we store that with a variable st. So in order to see methods, so you type st dot, then you press the tab. So as you can see, there are a lot of methods for string. So these are a string method because I defined the string here. So we have capitalized, there's a lot, but I will just demonstrate the common ones. So for example, st, for example, lower. So st lower, so don't forget the parenthesis. So if you don't have the parenthesis, it will just identify you're asking for the str lower only. You're not executing. So for example, st lower. Okay. So hello, my name is Renato. So as you can see, the string case is converted to lowercase. So another one. So we have also st upper. So the string will be converted into uppercase. So another one, so st dot, if you want to, again to see the documentation, you have also to press tab. So for example, we have, let's select here, which is, how about split? Okay, so st split means that we are converting this one into a list. But this time, as you can see, the separation will be on the spacing. So this will be useful. This will be useful a method when we are dealing with text analysis. When we have the topic of sentiment analysis, probably on elective 2 on machine learning. So we will have a topic on sentiment analysis. So this one is very useful as it separates the word, which my delimiter here is space. You can see. So we can use the split. So you can also use the split method by having, for example, we have a tweet with a hashtag. So for example, so tweet is equivalent to, for example, go sports, exclamation point, then we have hashtag sports. Okay, so let me just use alt enter so we can have another lines of code. So for example, you can also use this one when you are using the split. So for example, st dot split. Okay, so you can provide parameters. So what you are doing here is you're splitting, but you're interested with a hashtag. So for example, so the result of this one is, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not using the tweet. So let me correct that. So tweet, so split into the hashtag. Okay, as you can see, our splitting point is here. So go sports, as you can see, it's not anymore displayed. So this one is our delimiter here. So what if I want to grab the sports word and not just the list? So you can do this. So again, your knowledge of indexing. So split, we have a hashtag. Then we go for one. So why one? So this one is index 0. This one is index 1. So we are grabbing here the word sports. Okay. So another one is for dictionaries. So we have also method for dictionaries. So these are just an example. So for example, D is equivalent to, again, if you remember, we define dictionary as key value pairing. Okay, so how about we have item 1, just the previous example. So how about we have key 2, then we have item 2. Okay, so I define here dictionary. So let me alt enter so that I can create lines of codes. So for example, d dot, again, you press tab if you want to know more about the methods that we can use. So what about we use keys? So if you use keys, you are only identifying what are the keys. So which are key 1 or key 2. So for example, if you want to know the items, okay, in the dictionary, so that's the item. So key 1, item 1, key 2, item 2. Okay, so there are many more methods for the dictionary, but I'm just maybe just selecting the most common. So also lists have also certain methods. So for example, I will create a list of 1, 2, 3 numbers. Okay, so let's have a list method. So again, so dot and tab. So you can see here the many methods that you can use on the list. Okay, so let's have a pop. Let's say lst dot pop. Okay, so what will be the result? So the result of this one, okay, so we're popping the last item on the list. So this is permanent. So if you want to see the value of the list now, so again, this is a permanent thing. Okay, so you will see that the only item I have is 1 and 2. So we pop the list. Okay, so we can also use in operator. So for example, so x in for example 1, 2, 3. This only means that you search for x inside the list of 1, 2, 3. So the result of this is boolean value. So does x string exist in the list 1, 2, 3? So of course not. So how about this one? Does x in, for example, x, uh, y, z? Does x exist in the list? So this is also very useful. This one is called the in operator. So it basically search for the string x inside a list. So that's true because we have the x string inside the in. So another one which is very useful is the tuple unpacking. Okay, so we can unpack tuple. So let us discuss now the tuple unpacking. So there are instances where in Python that it returns a tuple. There are many situations where this kinds of set of data are returned in Python. So for example, I have a list of tuples. So for example, we have one, two. So we are creating here a tuple inside the list. So three, four. Then we have five and six. So I created an X variable which has a list, but inside the list it has a tuple. So how can I unpack this one? So the simple method is to assign the X value at the right side. So for example, I print A. Okay. So I already unpacked the tuple. So name one, B, and of course C. But this is not a smart way of tuple unpacking. So the smart way here is you use a for loop. So for example, for items, okay, in X, then for example, you print the items, okay. As you can see, we already unpacked the tuple inside the list, okay. So if you have done this one, this are not a smart way. Another one, so not a smart way. So if you don't know tuple unpacking, probably you will use this. So for example, print x 0 0. Okay. So what you want is you grab the value of one. So y x 0 0. So this one is index 0. Then this one is item 0. So that's why we displayed one here. Okay. So the smart way to unpack tuple usually with this kind of structure is this one. So for so you signify the structure of the tuple inside the list. So in X. So for example, I'm interested in printing the first item only on the tuple. So that's 135. So another one. So I'll paste this one. And how about I'm interested with the B. So as you can see, these are items. These are the real item inside the tuple. This is not a tuple anymore. We are already unpacking the tuple right here. So many situations that in Python that you will use this kind of method. So for A and B. So in situations where this is enough, so this is enough. But in situations most likely we will use this one. So actually you don't need this one, but for formality, I like to use parenthesis. So again, I will execute this one. So it's just the same. But my practice here, if you want to adapt my practice, is you want to include the parenthesis. So if you want to print this one out, so both, so print A and B. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So what if you want to assign the value of tuple into a list? You would like to unpack it. then you assign it to a specific list. So for example, so I will define an empty list, then I will execute the syntax for unpacking tuple. Then let's say first dot, again, we will append to the empty list name first. What specific tuple you want to assign. Okay, so let's first append, for example, A. Okay, then let's see the list. So this one is 135. So I want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So what you will do is just like this. So first append A, then first append B. Okay. So when you execute this again, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we unpacked a tuple, then we convert it into a list. So these are very important ones. So for the next lecture, so how about we have some exercises to reinforce if you really need if you really need some review, or if you want how about a more example to reinforce what we have learned. To see you on the next lecture.